to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and happy Saturday to you, May 9th, 2026. Good morning. It's bright and early on a Saturday morning, and thank you for joining us. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, wherever you are taking in your podcast. Thanks for being part of the show, and leave us a positive comment, leave us a review, and certainly share the show out with family and friends. We are going to meet my buddy Jimmy Cameron, a New Yorker, originally from Staten Island, my paisan. And we are going to talk leadership. We're going to talk Long Island, and we are going to talk the Long Island Leadership Summit, the LIE. Jimmy is not only doing great work in West Islip Schools as the assistant superintendent, but also growing leaders in Long Island, growing the influence of leadership with local schools in Long Island. We're going to talk about this upcoming event this month. So I appreciate Jimmy jumping on a Saturday morning. IXL sponsors the show. They are a great partner in education. And right now, people are looking back at what they did all year long, the growth on IXL, the areas of influence, and here they are, a word from IXL. I'd like to thank IXL for sponsoring today's podcast. Over 1 million teachers use IXL in their classroom every day. IXL is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It empowers schools with complete curriculum, thousands of instructional resources, robust reporting, assessment data, and more. It saves teachers a lot of valuable time with ready-made plans aligned to the standards and the textbooks. Built-in engagement tools like custom competitions make learning fun for students. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments. And the best part, everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your ed tech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your students towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, appreciate IXL sponsoring today's podcast. All right. Thank you for that. Definitely click on the link in the show notes there. We're going to meet Jimmy in a moment. Today's opening concept number 1. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there, all the moms, all the grandmoms, all the wives, and the ladies that do all the work here, do all the good things. My family, my wife is a superstar. She's a superhero. We are blessed with 3 beautiful children. My mother-in-law, Patricia Grimes, my family. So grateful for them. I lost my mom in January, so thinking about my mom certainly this weekend, and just the power of moms and all they bring to our lives. So happy Mother's Day, everybody. Number 2, owning your schedule, mastering your schedule. It was a busy week. It was Teacher Appreciation Week. And we thank all of our teachers. It was Nurses Day. I overbooked myself big time. Lots going on at school, lots of programs and things happening in Port Jervis schools. It was great, all positive things. Just overbooked myself with then my daughter's soccer and other podcasts outside of school, other events, other leadership opportunities. And it was just a busy week. Saturday morning, I dialed it back, had some coffee, did some reflection this morning, and thinking about just making sure that I am more protective of the time slots to be able to manage and take all the things in, say no to certain things, and make sure I'm taking care of myself on the journey. So I got knocked off the surfboard this week, but we're back to it, and I'm going to be a little more intentional with the scheduling. And making time to make the important thing the important thing. Let's have a great show. We're going to welcome in Jim from Long Island. Good morning, Jimmy Cameron.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you, buddy?
Good. I see you representing Long Island there, the Islanders.
Let's go, Long Islanders, man. The Islanders are the best. I mean, great things happening at UBS Arena.
They were
Love it.
down in the dumps there for a little bit, but now they're back on the rise. I
They're
know how high
going.
you got. Did they? I know Buffalo's in it. Are they in the playoffs here?
No, we missed the playoffs. We had a very, very difficult March.
Okay.
But Matty Schaefer, the number one draft pick from last year, he is just a franchise player. My son's a huge fan, so we wound up being season ticket holders this year, going
Oh,
into next year.
okay.
Yeah. So it's great. We've been able to get to a bunch of games with the family. My wife Kimberly, my daughter Elizabeth, and son James. But me and James, we get to the most games, and we have a ball. A lot of fun.
Fantastic. Friends, this is Jimmy Cameron, the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, West Islip Schools. And Jim, you also serve with the SAANYS board here. This is the School Administrators of New York and a leadership role there. We'll talk a little bit about that. Jim, thanks for jumping on a Saturday. I appreciate it. What would be happening in your house right now if you weren't on with me?
I'd probably be making some pancakes for my daughter had a sleepover with a friend of hers last night.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd probably be on pancake duty right now. If not, maybe at a soccer field somewhere. But just happy to be here with you, Andrew, to talk leadership, talk education. Excited.
Nice. Well, hopefully your wife's not picking up too many of your duties while you're on the podcast here. It's Mother's Day weekend, right? So that's extending to today. So make sure you got her covered today.
Without a doubt. Mama's always got to be taken care of.
I love it. Jim, we're going to talk about the LIE coming up, but let's talk a little bit about West Islip, your human resources. Jim, you say human resources, people right away think negative, right? They think like, trouble or this. How do you combat that? How do you change the narrative of the human resources position? Because there are other things happening. Tell me a little bit about your role and how you combat some of that negativity that might be associated with the position.
I think human resources, to me, it breaks down to very simple: be a human and be a resource. In my experiences, I think it has been a very reactive office. And my goal when I went into this 3 years ago was to really be a visible presence in all areas of the school. I've had the great opportunity to work with the West Islip Union Free Schools. Amazing superintendent, Paul Romanelli, phenomenal cabinet, Dawn Morrison in curriculum, and Elisa Pilati in business. And when I came on board, my big thing was, after being a principal for almost 10 years, being a number two again was like, ooh, how am I going to do this? And I wanted to do human resources my way. And it's something that the Board of Education and the cabinet have really supported me with. And, my goal is relationships. Everything is about relationships. And we've been very, very fortunate in West Islip to work with a great team. I would have, the union leadership of all the different collective bargaining units sitting here with me if I could. It's management and unions. We can work together. We can make the great things happen for kids in all areas, whether we're in the bus garage or we're in an AP physics classroom. It's important that, we all roll our sleeves up. We get the work done. It can be a difficult place, but you got to find the positivity. You need to get out of your office. You need to get in the hallways. You need to get into classrooms. And, people want to meet with me. I don't ask them to come to me. I go to them. And they have a prep. They have a lunch. They only have 40 minutes of free time if they're lucky, provided the copy machine doesn't go down, provided that the coffee isn't, burnt. So I get up, I get out of my office, I go and meet people, and I think it's served me well, and I think it's showing people in the district what human resources can do and be for everybody.
Nice. I love the answer there. Human and resources, and you also have a different title here, the Chief Morale Officer.
Yeah, man. Yeah, listen, it's I know sometimes when it comes to morale, it comes to the decimal points and zeros in our paycheck. We can't always do that. So treating people the way you want to be treated. I'm fortunate. My wife is an educator. I have 2 young kids that are in school. I look at a lot of things through their lenses. What would I want from my kids? What do they want out of their schools? What do they want from their leadership? And that's the lens I look at everything, every decision.
I love it. Jimmy, you just mentioned about getting out of your office, getting places, and you heard my opening segment, right? I overbooked myself this week, and I just felt crammed. What are some things that you do to master that schedule? Make some time for Jim Cameron, make some time for the family. How do you manage when that schedule's pushing in on you?
I think, you mentioned being intentional is so incredibly important, and carving out time. And there's spots in my schedule, where I don't call it fake meetings, but you got to put placeholders in there to give yourself a chance to catch up, to give yourself a chance to unwind, reflect. And I'm able to do that. I have an amazing team of assistants that I work with, and they're able to support me in that. So I think, I live and die by my Outlook calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. So if I want to be sure that I have an opportunity to recharge, I have an opportunity to catch up, it has to go on the calendar.
Yeah. And I like my afternoon calendars there. I blend them. I invite my school calendar or my family calendar because some of those things crossed over and I got jammed up this week. So blending that family and work there at the later part of the day is important. You mentioned your family, Elizabeth, your daughter, James, your son, and your wife. Good luck to your daughter. I know she's recovering from an injury here, and the cameras are adjusting to that. So good luck to your daughter with that injury. Um, Jim, with that, you mentioned about the job and people in HR, and I love the positive outlook. Sometimes there's a negative thing, and again, there's that mindset of discipline, or like someone getting in trouble. How, with you being positive there, is it more supporting and growing and picking the person up when maybe they're down, and something's not going their way? Talk to me about supporting educators versus punishing.
I look at it. I've had some difficult conversations, and I've had to make some really difficult decisions. Listen, there's sometimes where I put people on my calendar, but in some of those worst cases, people are putting themselves on my calendar. And
Mhm.
actions have consequences. And to me, the same way a student should be able to come to school with their dignity, they should be able to leave that school building with their dignity. I think no matter what, our job is to lift people up, to coach people up. Sometimes we have to give feedback, and that feedback is incredibly important. And I think being as direct and honest and compassionate as you can in that feedback is really, really important. I'm trying to avoid the word constructive criticism. I think that word criticism, you hear criticize in there. So, feedback. I talk about feedback all the time, and feedback is care. I give feedback to my children because I want them to be better people. I want them to grow up to be better than me. And the same thing when it comes to my staff and the people that I work with. We give feedback, we support each other. And sometimes that comes with some difficult conversations, but work together to a reasonable solution is the goal.
Yeah. And Jim, when we were growing up, the adult that could talk to everyone, that people, they have the gift of gab, or they could talk to anybody. But the older we get now, that's really a skill, right? That's why you are in that position. You and I could talk sports all day. You and I could talk leadership all day. You and I could talk relationships. You have those skills to reach the people. And it sounds like you landed in the right niche after, serving as a building leader for many years. And they get the right person that knows how to talk to people.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from my own childhood. My father was a United States Marine. He was a New York City police officer. He then, after retiring from the NYPD, went into a career in the private sector, and he worked in trucking and management, and eventually personnel. So as a kid, school was always really, really important, but also the ability to communicate and work with people and to give of yourself. And I think that's helped me tremendously. I have to be able to walk into that bus garage and talk to a mechanic that, maybe something, and then I got to turn around and I got to walk over, and walk into a Spanish classroom where I might not understand what's going on. But I can tell when it comes to communication, how much of it is really the words. It's so little. I'm a big believer of 55 38 7. 55% of communication is nonverbal. 38% is tone. It's really 7% is the words. So, I think I've been fortunate through my upbringing and stuff that I can adapt in many worlds. And, my family has been a big part of that. Growing up with 3 sisters, all within 4.5 years, you had to learn how to communicate.
Better get out of the bathroom.
I was in the 80s, buddy. I was growing up with 3 sisters in the Aquanet years.
You were using the hose in the backyard.
Oh my God. I used to have to hide my toothbrush because the toothbrush would get stuck to the countertop after all the hairspray.
Aquanet, buy that stock back in the day. Shout out to your dad, Jim Cameron. I love how you just wrote here the OG.
Yeah.
Well, he would be proud of what you're doing, Jim. You're growing Long Island educators. This month, we have the LIE Leadership Summit coming up. And, I love, you're not just, it's not just West Islip. It's not just your family. You are looking to make an impact on local educators, even in the surrounding areas of Long Island. It's not just Long Island. People are invited to come. Here it is. It's Saturday, May 29th. You have built this thing. You've kind of rebranded it and rebuilt it. And talk to me about your goals here at St. Joseph University, May 29th. I'm going to put the link in the chat, friends. If you're interested, you can register here at longislandeducators.org. But Jimmy, tell me about this event, and I'm excited to be part of it with you. And what's going on with this?
Listen, when it comes to networking and learning opportunities, I think it's really, really important that you partner with the right people. And I know you said that, I've rebranded it. There's no I in the LIE other than the island. I'm fortunate to work with amazing people. Joella McCarthy, a former teacher, now she works in a professional development role. She has her own business on the literacy end. She's a phenomenal human being. I work with Rob Wadawa out of the Huntington Schools. He's in the fine and performing arts world. And Dennis Shug is Hampton Bay's middle school principal. The 4 of us really led the way in developing the LIE and the brand there. And we picked up a lot of partners along the way. It's really important that you surround yourself with the right people and you find your tribe, as we like to say. You connect with the right people. And the LIE is really intended to be a very affordable, very productive opportunity to connect with other educators. And partnering with St. Joe's University is just a great opportunity to get into the classrooms of the future leaders of our buildings and our districts. So we have students from the leadership program at St. Joseph's that'll be there, to superintendents from across Long Island and everybody in between. And it's a great day. I mean, listen, for $40, you're going to get breakfast, lunch, and some amazing learning and networking. You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong there. I mean, that $40 will cost you lunch alone now these days. And that's fantastic. It's Friday, May 29th. Great time of the year. It's right before all the rush of June, but kind of closing out the year. And what a great shot of leadership here going into the home stretch. And it's all right there on the website. They can register right, longislandeducators.com. The link's in the chat. The link is in the show notes. And Jimmy, how much work behind the scenes? You mentioned the team here. You and I have been talking about this for, over 6 months. Talk to me about you and the intentional planning, the sessions, and how will you continue to work on this through May 29th to make it a great event?
So it's funny. We have a planning meeting going on in a few minutes, and we jump on the Zoom right now once a week. We're taking a look at the session proposals. We're going to start making some final decisions this week with regards to which sessions are going to be approved. The truth is, if you have a great idea, we're going to put you on the board. And that's our goal, is to give everybody a voice. So we're doing our weekly meetings between now and the end of the month. We'll probably do one more on-site visit. And then partnering, with the leadership team at St. Joe's, the director of the leadership program, Yvonne, she's instrumental in helping us with that on-site support leading up to the event. And, we're on a WhatsApp chat that, it was going till 11 o'clock last night. It started already this morning.
Whoa.
Yeah. Everybody chimes in when they can. We joke around. We should probably start doing these collaborative conversations at 9:00 at night when people get a chance to unwind. But it's a phenomenal group of people that they're all in it for the right reasons. They want to build, a network of support for everybody to make schools better for our kids.
May 29th, friends, it's in the chat there. Get signed up. Certainly you can reach out to Jim at West Islip Schools if you have questions. Jim, a lot of school leaders watch the podcast here that, people want to grow in their leadership. And a great way to do that is to present at a conference, an event like yours. What's something that jumps off the page? You're looking at 100 session things. You could only pick, 30 or 40. If you're sitting there, what jumps off the page to say, man, that's going to be a great presentation?
I think it depends. Right now, everything is AI. Everybody's going down the AI road, and what are some ways that we can leverage technology to make our lives better? So I think that's a big part. And, I think I follow the people. I don't, if you're going to be presenting on something, Andrew, I want to be in the room with you. And there's people all around Long Island that have kind of built a name for themselves with different, presentation opportunities. So I think it depends on the time of the year. I think it depends on, the time of educational space that we're in, but I find myself trying to bounce into as many sessions as I possibly can. One of the things with the Long Island educators, we say no egos here. If you're in a session and it's not doing what you need to do, just hop on your own 2 feet and find the next room. And, maybe you have to hit 3 or 4 rooms in one time block. We find it important. We want the event and the day to meet everybody's needs. And so no egos, just bounce around if you have to.
Bam. Well, I've been grateful that you and I have been able to share some space. I've got to know you. You've seen my presentations, and I enjoy presenting. Jim, here's a little shout out. If you haven't seen any of my presentations, here's a little thing. I love coming to events like yours and conferences and school districts. So here's
Are you looking for a speaker for your next event? What is it? Opening day of school? A summer leadership event? Professional development for next year? A business meeting? Andrew Murata is ready to be your speaker. For the past 7 years, Andrew has been speaking to schools, businesses, and civic organizations, bringing energy, enthusiasm, and real connection to every audience. Connect with Andrew to learn more. He would be honored and excited to support your team with spirit, motivation, and inspiration you're looking for.
Bam. And thanks for having me. May 29th, the LIE. Jim, it's Saturday, May 9th. Tomorrow is the big day. Your wife, I could tell how much your family is important to you, your children, Elizabeth and James. Talk to me about your wife and your family and how you're going to support not only your wife today. And you spoke about your dad. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your mom as well.
Yeah, Mother's Day is every day, right? Without our moms, where would we be? So I'm very blessed. I know you mentioned earlier you lost your mom recently. I'm very blessed. I still have both my parents. My father's, it's such a blessing. My father's 86 and, my mother's 82. And, they're still hopping and bopping. I called to check in yesterday. They were on their way home from an early happy hour down in Northport Village, so they're still doing their thing. And, my mom, she really got me into the school space. She was a school clerical in Brentwood Schools.
Okay.
Yeah. She wound up, she retired as a principal clerk confidential. And she was a big deal.
You running the school in that job.
That is for sure. And she worked in a really large district, and she was the director of worked for the director of funded programs. And so, title funds, everything went through my mom. And
gatekeeper.
So she definitely was. And she built a lot of great relationships there that got me really into the educational space and actually provided me the intro, because I went and worked in that district and I met a lot of people in that district, and that got me into the SAANYS world through those networks, through those connections from 20 something years ago. So, it's, my mother has always been a guiding force for me with regards to everything in education, everything in academia. I used to hate, I used to hate having to share anything I wrote with my mom, because mom was a shredder. I mean, she could slice and dice up your piece of paper, whatever it was, and I used to get so mad about it. And then, ironically enough, you mentioned in your little promo there about working with civic groups. My wife and I, when we first got together, we got very involved in civics, and I wouldn't be the speaker, the presenter, the personality that I am today if it wasn't for my wife. My wife was there front row. And, you talk about feedback, and feedback is care. She gave me feedback. She's probably in the other room. She's going to tell me how many times I said, and I think that's just, it speaks to the importance of having those voices in your life. And I've been fortunate with, my moms and my wife to be able to be supportive of my crazy ideas, but then also willing to give me the feedback that's necessary to bring it to the next level.
Enjoy the day tomorrow, and certainly a shout out to the women in your life. The women in my life were fortunate and blessed. Jim, one of the things you mentioned here, I like how you said this. I'm much better about talking about the misses than successes, right? I asked about that, and certainly you've had a lot of successes, but why do the misses jump to the front of the line? Why do the things that don't go to your way resonate with you? And then how do you implement that feedback? How do you then make good on those misses to keep moving forward?
I mean, I think what they say, fail is the first attempt in learning. And I think, we need to remember that. Our schools are great places to learn, but you're not learning without the failures. You're not learning without the misses. And, those things, they do resonate to me. I'm not a big pat on the back person. I don't want to hurt myself reaching around, patting myself on the back. So I just think that those are the opportunities. Those missed opportunities are the ones that stick with me the most long term, because you got to get it right next time. You can miss it once, but if you're going to miss it 2 and 3 times, you get nobody to blame but yourself. And so I definitely hold on to those misses more. But I think it serves me well in not repeating the past and doing better in the future.
Yeah. Practical life lessons. Again, your mom as an education, your dad in the police. I mean, those are such real things you just said, and you can tell that you're living it with your family. And congrats on the work you're doing, Jim. Jim, I like reading. I put the phone in the other room. We're going to talk about that. Educators, all leaders are readers. This is my next block here. These 2 books here. My man Kenny Chesney and my friend Kevin sent this to me. So these are on my list here. What are you reading, and how do you make reading part of your day? What are you reading these days?
I tell you, during the school year, I'm reading a lot of magazines. I belong to a couple organizations, NASP, the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Probably, I'm going to say it, my favorite professional organization. Listen, I love SAANYS. I'm a part of SAANYS. I'm a part of that leadership team. And certainly the Vanguard magazine through SAANYS is something that I go to.
Great periodical
magazine. Yeah. I got the principal magazine is really important. I'm reading, finding the right fit. We're in hiring season right now. And I say to people all the time, I'm not a skills-based hire person. I'm a personality-based hire. I want to hire the personality. And it's really important that you find the right fit for your classroom, for your school. I kid around with people. We don't need 20 Jim Camerons running around in educational leadership. We need to find balance, and finding the right fit is something. I'm reading it through the magazines. That's I'm probably going to pick up a few books. My friend Andrew over here sent me a few books that I'll be digging into come the summer months. But I'm definitely more of a magazine and online reader during the school year.
Yeah, it's busy, and you got a couple minutes, you get it in, right?
Yeah. One book I did read this year that I think everybody in the educational space should read. We read it as part of our team, Unreasonable Hospitality, by Will DeGarda. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Big restaurant, big New Yorker restaurant business.
Yeah. Yep, 11 Madison Park. And, you know, he talks about so many relevant items when it comes to leadership and education. So a big shout out to that book. It's served us a lot this year in helping improve the culture, improve the morale of our schools. So
yeah, I have it on the nightstand. One of the things, right? The meter's running out. The person's about to leave their hot food, and where are you going? Well, I got to put. As a New Yorker, you understand, and the hostess took, I'll go do it. Where's the car? And sent them back to the table. Like, I was like, wow. That's impressive there for sure. A lot of tips and strategies. Jim, I got to give a shout out. Matt Hodge is watching from Alabama, a longtime school leader. He loves your concept about no egos and not only walking around at the conferences, he wears the cool shoes at the conferences. So he looks cool as well. Jim, I asked a lot of questions here. What's something you wanted to share? What's something you wanted to say here? Kind of on the platform, and kind of have a moment to share something that you wanted to say.
I think the most important thing for me, and the message that I like to share with people, there's a reason that we went into this work, and that reason is something that we can never forget. It's never the work that burns us out; it's the noise, and you have to weed through the noise. The work is why we're there. That's our calling. That's why we wanted to go into this. So it's blocking out the noise as best you can. The noise can be overwhelming, but just focus on the work and weed through the noise as best you can.
Great advice there, my friend Jim Cameron. He is a school leader, West Islip Schools, New York. And I just put it in the chat again, the LongIslandEducators.org, him and his team there. It's coming up May 29th. If you're an educator anywhere in New York, come on, commute down. If you're up in the Connecticut area, you can take the ferry down, and we'd love to have you. It's going to be a great event, and that link is in the chat. Jim, you ready, man? I know you're stuck in traffic out there in Long Island, but these are rapid fire questions. These are things that get you moving. You ready?
Bring it. Let's go.
Let's go here. Rapid fire. Let me cue this up here. Last movie you saw?
Hitch.
Good?
Will Smith. Yeah, romantic comedy.
This is it. He coming back to, this is his first movie after the slap here?
There's a couple slaps. There's a couple slaps in that movie. I think it was before the slap. It was definitely before the slap.
Last concert you went to?
It would be a Zac Brown concert. Big Zac Brown fan.
How many concerts have you been to at Jones Beach?
Oh my goodness, too many to count. Way too many. I mean, I can't even tell you. I've been in the parking lot just as many times as I've been in the in the amphitheater.
Some of them you might not remember. They're a great venue on Long Island. Last song you sang out loud in the car?
Sweet Child of Mine. James's favorite song, my boy. Yeah.
The 80s circling back again.
Oh, come on, man.
Billy Joel, the Long Island legend. What's your Billy Joel song? Number one?
Piano Man.
Have you watched the documentary?
I have. Pretty amazing story. Yeah, pretty amazing story.
And even the story of Piano Man, of where that came from. He was kind of, trying to get out of that contract, couldn't play.
Yeah.
He played at the local piano bar. That's where he met all the characters.
Yes. I was fortunate. I went to MSG for his 100th show.
Oh, wow.
That was amazing. Jerry Seinfeld opened up. Sting came out and played with him. It's just an amazing showman. And yeah, Long Island. I mean, you can't talk about Long Island without talking about Billy Joel.
Oyster Bay changed the laws there. No more helicopters, Oyster Bay. And there was one person that was grandfathered in to get the helicopter in and out. William Joel was his name. 2026 is almost half over here. What's one thing you've learned in 2026?
There's, be ready for the surprises. As you mentioned, my daughter, first soccer game of the season this year, she got slide tackled and blew out her ACL. So you got to be ready for those surprises. And she's in the beginning of a long rehab, but she's a trooper. She's not complaining. She's not whining, and just be ready for the surprises and adapt. And people around you will ride the wave with you.
Get some extra pancakes to Elizabeth this morning, getting through that injury. Shout out to Bill Harris, school board member, Port Jervis Schools. He's a big fan of the program here. Thank you, Bill. A lot of great places to eat, a lot of seafood there in Long Island. What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish. I'm a big, if we're talking seafood, I'm like a zuppa de pêche. I like the zuppa de pêche, a little shrimp, scallops, clams, mussels, in a light tomato sauce over some pasta. Sign me up.
You get a little spice in there? You like it spicy?
I like a little spice. I do. How'd you know that?
Hey, let's see, when you work in HR, bro. You bring the spice.
You got to keep it spicy.
I like it. This summer, I will fill in the blank.
This summer, I will take the family to the lake. We're pumped. We're going to be on the lake. We're typically ocean people, but we're gonna, with like I mentioned, my daughter's injury, the lake will be a little easier on the knee and the rehab. So we're excited to be heading up to Lake Erskine, which is up in Ringwood, New Jersey. So
nice. You talked about a lot of your passions, relationships, bringing people together. What's something that bothers you, a little pet peeve for you?
Arrogance. Arrogance. It's just I got called out on it the other day. I had to share a couple of counseling letters, and somebody said to me, man, you really hit that one hard. And I was like, yeah, the arrogance kind of gets to me.
Well, it goes. You said it earlier about the no egos, right? There's no egos here. Just do your job, and you can't be stepping on other people's toes with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you already shared your New York sports team. I mean, you're representing them today. So how about a Long Island traffic hack? I'm coming out there before the event. It's going to be like 3:00 in the afternoon. I need some strategies here.
Find a good book on tape. You can always schedule getting out of Long Island. Getting onto the island is difficult. My traffic hack is get in the car at 5:00 in the morning and do what you got to do.
Early.
Yeah.
We've gone to some parties on a Saturday there just at 5. The party wasn't until noon, but I'd rather get out there and go to a beach or a coffee shop versus sitting in that traffic.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. How many times does your name get tangled up with the movie director?
Listen, I've never had a problem getting a reservation at a restaurant, so
we'll put you at the best table.
Yeah, no, it's Avatar brought it back. It was a lull there for many years after the Titanic. But Avatar definitely brought it back.
Yeah, major filmmaker there. Something about this Jim Cameron that people do not know about.
I'm incredibly passionate about civic life and politics. And I keep that on the side. I think that it's really important that in our roles as educational leaders, we have to leave politics out of it. But I'm definitely I'm following, I'm reading, involved in the local committees and civic organizations. Definitely when life calms down a little bit, I see myself going that route possibly.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many interconnections to your community of West Islip and working locally, and you want to do something that you gotta work together and tie in with that. So good for you. Law Wren gives you a shout out from West Islip here in the chat. Jim, this has been great. I know you got pancakes down the pike here that you got to get to. How about a quote? You have a quote that you like that, maybe on your wall or at your nightstand or something?
it was actually my high school quote, obladi, obladi. And it's just, it's life goes on, it's something, you just deal with things as they come. So, and I mentioned before, it's never the work, it's the noise that burns us out.
Jim Cameron, friends. Great job, Jim. I appreciate it. We are going to bring the magic on May 29th at the Long Island Leadership Summit. Reach out to Jim, and the link is in the show notes there. Matt Hodge wants tickets to Bethpage Black. So can you get a Southerner from Alabama on the course? That's what he's asking.
I mean, listen, it's a public course, man. You just got to call, say James Cameron wants to play.
We'll give you the first tee time.
Yeah, great course. I've never played the black course. I'm afraid of it, but there's a bunch of courses over at Bethpage. They're all great.
You and Matt would hit it off for sure. Have a great day tomorrow with your team and your wife and your mom, and continued success. And it's going to be a great event there in May. So thank you for a few minutes today, Jim.
Andrew, thanks so much for being a part of it, and thanks so much for this opportunity today. Really, really good time. Thank you.
It's going to be great. Jim, stay on the line. Friends, have a great day. Happy Mother's Day to everyone, and continue to survive and thrive in all that you do. Thanks, friends.